All right, thank you so much. I'm going to begin with a statement. Agents are the new storefront. So discovery is shifting. Thanks. Hold your applause, please. Discovery is shifting to Gen AI assisted agents. So in 20 minutes, I'll show you two modes of agentic commerce and how AWS plus Stripe are helping to make payments instant and secure and trusted in both of those modes. So really quick, let's jump right in. It's a lightning talk, and there we go. All right, so 30 seconds on Stripe. Stripe is a financial platform. Think of us as the financial infrastructure of the internet. So basically, we do a lot more than just payments. Consider us to be programmatic money movement. So we like to think of ourselves as the AWS of payments, but we do a lot more than just payments. So as you can see here, we obviously accept money globally in many different countries. We can automate revenue with recurring payments with our billing product. We can automate tax calculations, reporting, and data. We power lots of marketplaces in the world, from DoorDash to Instacart to Lyft, many, many others. And we actually have a lot of banking as a service, money management offerings, such as Stripe Issuing, Capital. We're also very market leading in stablecoins. So think of us, again, as programmatic money movement, financial infrastructure to solve use cases across the board. We're very horizontal in how we approach things. And we're very proud of our partnership with AWS. So we have competencies in everything you see here: retail, media and entertainment, travel and hospitality, insurance, as well as focused on ISVs as a vertical. And this partnership basically really comes to fruition in life when you think about the amount of uptime and availability that we drive through both AWS's really fantastic cloud infrastructure and our very talented engineering team at Stripe. We drive 5 nines of availability consistently. We just completed Black Friday, Cyber Monday, moved, I think, close to $40 billion, and had 6 to 7 nines of availability. So we're very proud of the fact that the combination of AWS plus Stripe serves 4 million plus customers in a very scalable, reliable way. And these types of solutions drive real revenue for customers. So in adding Stripe's optimized checkout suite, we can generate, on average, close to 12% of top-line revenue uplift. That's a huge number when you really think about it. And we can modernize and optimize and drive efficiency through 30% faster launches through Stripe's innovation in API layers and developer SDKs, toolkits. We have some of the best documentation in the industry, and we have a unified API. So we're very friendly to drive efficiency through innovation through our developer community. And finally, reducing risk. So we have many, many fraud data models that I'll talk about that are powered by, again, the combination of Stripe engineering and AWS infrastructure. So earlier this year, we launched the world's first payments foundation model. It's trained on literally tens of billions of key signals. Think of it as using the breadth of the global economy to train an AI model. So if you know anything about vector databases or vector spacing, it uses high-dimensional vector space to quantify things like different clusters and what these clusters mean to each other. So payments that share similarities, for example, that come from the same country or from the same card, or that are positioned closer geographically from the same bank. We can cluster this information and use it to be very predictive in how we prevent fraud and bring other solutions to market. Payments from the same email address, for example. These are very important data points to build into vector spaces and to cluster. So in using these solutions, we've driven $1.4 trillion of annual payment volume last year in 2024. 92% of cards using this payment foundation model have been seen before. So again, think of it as an AI model that's just trained on billions of data points, so we can become very predictive and actually look at a transaction start to finish, and instead of being reactive to it, actually be proactive in eliminating fraud. So we've had millions of companies that have leveraged these products and solutions. Now, this payments foundation model drives the entire end-to-end experience, from the checkout to authentication to fraud prevention with Radar, card testing, all the way across the board, refunds and disputes. The payments foundation model is key to delivering value end-to-end in the entire payments lifecycle. So some real-world statistics, 95% of card testing attacks have been detected in real time using this payments foundation model. 21% improvement over prior methods. So again, very key that we're, instead of reacting, we're being very proactive using this foundations model to prevent fraud. Things like smart disputes. So if you're ever going to dispute a charge, it can be 10 to 15, 20 pages of documentation that you have to submit. Smart disputes is a way that we're using Gen AI to generate this paperwork, generate everything, submit it automatically, automated end-to-end. And so DoorDash implemented it and had a 10% reduction in chargeback costs, which you can imagine for a company the size of DoorDash, this was a very significant amount of revenue. Vimeo and Squarespace, 13% increase in chargebacks recovered. So again, automation and AI can be used in every aspect of end-to-end payments lifecycle, including even fighting disputes. So really quick, to wrap up, optimized checkout suite. It boosts revenue by creating frictionless checkout experiences for your customers. We also have a one-click digital wallet called Stripe Link. You can go to link.com, sign up for an account. Basically think of this as a phone agnostic digital wallet. It's not Apple Pay, it's Google Pay. It competes with those from the standpoint of what it delivers, but it's available to you no matter what device you use, no matter what browser you use. So Stripe Link is definitely a one-click wallet that powers a lot of frictionless checkout experiences for us. So let's jump into the topic at hand, agentic commerce. So I promised you we'd talk about 2 modes of agentic commerce. There's actually 3 models that exist today: business to agent, otherwise known as B to A, agent to consumer, A to C, and then A to A. I'll briefly touch on A to A because it is more of a future model. Think of it as a world where you've got an autonomous agent from the buyer's perspective negotiating with an autonomous agent on the seller's perspective, and there's no human involved at all in the checkout. So you're basically having an agent shop on your behalf, the seller has an agent representing them on behalf. You're using policy engines and logic to come to a conclusion. That's a future use case that we're working on, but we have already launched real live solutions today in the first 2 use cases. I'll start with business to agent. And this is participating in agentic channels. So quick show of hands. Who here has used any AI surface to try and buy something or at least get a recommendation to shop for something? Wow, okay. So our stats show 1 out of 4. That was more than half, just roughly scanning the audience. So very sophisticated audience here that's used AI for shopping. So the key thing that we wanted to talk about is that's one channel, AI being the new search, as I mentioned earlier, AI being the new storefront. And then we have AI-powered advisors, which is agent to consumer. We'll also talk about that use case as well. So, business to agent. What we're seeing is an emerging ecosystem between buyers, AI agents or orchestrators, and merchants and businesses. So businesses want their products to be discoverable in these AI chat surfaces, and buyers want a frictionless, very safe, secure checkout experience. Basically, payments is the one layer of trust that cannot be compromised in agentic commerce. Think about giving an agent your bank account information or your credit card and saying, go out and shop for something. That may not be the best idea, right? So we want to basically build something that's fast, secure, reliable, fraud-proof. And so this is the ecosystem that we're working with. So we've partnered with all the AI companies that you see there in the center of the screen. And again, we're laser focused on making sure that this new ecosystem, this new way of purchasing is safe, reliable, and secure. So, what have we launched? We launched this in late September at our US New York tour, called Agentic Commerce Protocol, ACP for short. And it's an open standard, Apache 2 licensed, community driven, can be used by any AI surface. So we co-authored it with OpenAI, but it is available to be used on Perplexity, Gemini, Microsoft Copilot, X, Meta, all the ones that you saw on the previous slide. And the way to think of it is the problem that we were trying to solve by giving an agent a virtualized debit card and go out and complete a purchase is a very difficult problem. So in the past, we tried using things like browser automation. And what we realized is that agents are not really very good at trying to figure out a human-readable checkout. So agents are very probabilistic, and you get different outcomes every time. So it could go to the same human checkout and figure it out in 5 seconds, or go to that same human checkout and take 10 minutes to figure it out. So we launched an experience similar to that with Perplexity, and we learned a lot and evolved and basically came back to the drawing board and said, okay, what we need to do is make a way of making these human-readable checkouts machine-readable. So we need to create an abstraction layer and bring that human checkout to the agent in a way that the agent can be successful. And what agents are really good at are deterministic outcomes. Agents can hit an API and make a consistent API call every time. So that's basically the thought model around what we were trying to solve. And so what we brought to market is a protocol that, again, makes a human-readable checkout machine-readable. And then if you want to be discoverable as a business in these new machine-readable checkouts, you have to make your product catalog machine-readable, and you have to feed your product catalog straight to the agents. So we had to publish protocols, product feed specs, delegated payment specs. There's a lot of documentation that I'll share with you at the end of the presentation. But that was basically what we were trying to solve. And I get a lot of questions about what's the difference between AP2, which Google launched 2 weeks prior to ACP. What are the differences? And so basically, AP2 is a principles framework. There's a lot of really good thought leadership from Google and a lot of partners that went into developing AP2. Stripe participated somewhat at the beginning of those conversations. But Stripe takes a little bit of a different approach in that we like to build things. And we like to basically get it launched out in the market. We like to innovate with design partners and launch something live, learn, iterate, and evolve from that, and then let the protocol mature as it's being delivered out in the wild. So we basically, 2 weeks after AP2, launched ACP in co-authorship with OpenAI. And part of the technology that we had to solve for was shared payment tokens. And I'll talk a little bit about shared payment tokens coming up. But we are live today on Etsy, and I'll show you an example. And we're implementing with Walmart, Shopify, many other large big box retailers. So this is a live solution that we're talking about. It's not a principles framework. It is basically live and something that we launched. So what is a shared payment token? Think of an example of giving an AI agent your credit card, and you say you want to buy a model airplane, and it hallucinates and tries to buy a real airplane and drains your bank account. So this is a scenario, a nightmare scenario that we do not want to embrace in agentic commerce. So you have to have something called guardrails, which is basically a budgeted amount that the agent cannot exceed. So think of a shared payment token as like a Russian doll of layers of logic around a payment method that's been tokenized. So you've got your payment method on file, Stripe link, or like your Visa card, and then you've clicked on OpenAI ChatGPT saying, I want to buy this model airplane, it's $5, and the shared payment token is instantly minted at that point and gives you a $5 budgeted amount, and it cannot exceed that amount. And also inside this logic layer is fraud signals. So if this card has been used previously in card testing attacks, we'll pass that signal to the merchant. This is a very important part of the protocol. You have to make sure that these extra layers of logic are included as part of the shared payment token. So this is live today. You can take out your phones right now if you want to. You can make history and be one of the world's first agentic shoppers. I've bought many things for my dog as I do these demos on stage, but it's very, like I said, you can make history. This is something you can basically go into ChatGPT right now and say, buy me some dog treats on Etsy. You'll find some that say visit, which means they have not adopted ACP, but interestingly, you'll find some that say buy. So you can click on buy and actually complete that purchase inside the chat session while never leaving that chat experience. So the goal is OpenAI wants you to stay in OpenAI, get these hyper-personalized recommendations. It's going to really get to know your dog over time, like what treats it likes, what size costumes it likes for Halloween, all of the above. Getting those hyper-personalized recommendations are what the Gen AI agents are all about. But we also want to make this a safe, fast, secure payment experience that meets you at the point of inspiration. OpenAI was very clear with us, where they said, we do not want the user leaving the site to complete the purchase. So, 4 minutes left. We're going to talk about mode 2. Mode 2 is AI stylist, or what we called agent to consumer. So, some retail brands do not want to give up all modes of discovery to these external AI agents. Not everybody wants to sell things in ChatGPT, right? Luxury brands, hotels, there's lots of use cases for agent to consumer. Some of these have already been launched and are available out in the wild today. You may have seen Amazon Rufus, which is an on-site AI-powered assistant. So again, you're using Gen AI to optimize the experience. You're still getting these hyper-personalized recommendations, but you're just not using ChatGPT or Perplexity as your front-end portal. You're actually going to an on-site branded experience. Walmart has Sparky. Ralph Lauren just launched Ask Ralph. You see I've got some nice quotes there as far as like where the industry is heading for agent to consumer. And the really important thing is Stripe. We launched this at Stripe Sessions earlier this year in May. We have an on-site shopping advisor. We have a reference architecture that we've built with AWS that allows any business to implement their own Ask Ralph or Sparky or Rufus. So we've worked with some major brands in using AWS Gen AI front end. Bedrock trained very well on knowledge bases, product catalogs, guardrails. So a lot of these AI agents that have been released out in the wild are not really good. Rufus is really good, Sparky is good, there's a few good ones. We've got, since we've built with Bedrock, built-in guardrails, so you cannot make these agents go off the rails and do something unpredictable. For the architects and developers in the crowd, this was my reference architecture that I built for the AI stylist. And you can see the Stripe interaction is a clear API call. So you don't have to use shared payment tokens if you're making a direct API call from an on-site shopping assistant. Stripe also has an MCP server. So you can actually call our MCP server directly, generate what we call a payment link to complete the transaction. You can use, I've got Lambda functions that we can talk about offline. Meet me in the corner after the session if you want to talk about any of this. But basically, you can interact directly with Stripe's API or our MCP server or our agentic commerce SDK to build out on-site payments experiences that are powered directly at that level. So with the last minute, I'll open it up for any questions. You can also scan the Q&A, the QR code here. Main thing is you can go directly to agenticcommerce.dev and see the protocol that we published with OpenAI. We have a GitHub repo. We're very encouraged to make this an open community developer-led experience. We've realized that at Stripe, we use this talking point a lot. We haven't won yet. Okay, we released the protocol. It's been very, very effective so far, but there's so many more use cases that we want to talk to our merchants about, that we want to work with our developer community to build this out and make it more mature and evolve over time. So with that, I am 20 seconds away from being done. Any 5-second questions? All right. Well, thank you so much. I'll be hanging out after the show if you have any questions.